City Skylines 2 just received its largest and easily the most significant patch update to the game yet. And of course, the launch of Paradox Mods and the editor, alongside the new Beachfront properties paid DLC. There's much to discuss. Let's jump in. Starting with what you'll be slapped in the face with when you open the game, Paradox Mods. The official first-party modding platform, their bespoke modding platform that they're using, of course, instead of, in place of Steam Workshop. It's not the first time a Paradox game has used this platform, so if you've used it in something like Age of Wonders 4, for example, or many other games that Paradox have hooked into the system now, then you'll feel right at home here. Basically, browse through the mod store, in-game, if you like, download things, add them to a playlist, and then you launch the game with that playlist, or play set, I should say. Get my terminology confused, it'll confuse everybody, not helpful. I'm pleased to say that, of course, everything I'm discussing in this video has launched already, right? We're not talking about things that are coming soon, it's here right now. And as you can see, there's a pretty good selection of things available. Lots of them are maps rather than specific gameplay mods, but there are loads of good gameplay mods already there. Don't forget though, this is just launching in beta. It's of course just for PC players because console players don't have the base game yet, and there are still more iterations and updates to come. By and large, I've found it works really well. There's a good library of things already available, so you can probably start to step away from some of the third-party providers that you may have been using. It's of course ideal to have it built into the game, though not having Steam Workshop support will likely still ruffle a few feathers. There are still some issues too. And in breaking news from the editing room, as I've woken up early this morning, bought the DLC, started making this video, reporting on it live, City Skylines have just tweeted that they're aware that PDX Mods is overloaded and lagging and working on a fix, showing all teams at Paradox how important modding is to the community, and they'll learn from it, they say. While they're working to get the load down, the best thing you can do is be patient. My goodness. God, let's get back to it. The other addition here is the editor, very much a beta version of these created tools. These are, to be honest, less my thing. You'll find me much more often playing with mods than you will find me editing maps. However, I love a good edited map. And of course, we should probably talk some of the technical stuff here. What have they actually added as part of editor and modding? Well, as the patch notes tell us, they've added code modding support, the toolchain installation that's required to create mods in the game, as well as the editor. And the editor will, as you can see, allow us to import and export height maps for real-life maps, resource maps. You can set the climate, add or edit water resources, and define map details like the name and the theme. Paradox Mods, of course, allows us to share code mods, save games, and custom maps. And that rounds out the changes in the beta launch for these tools. Now let's talk the new paid DLC. And this is actually what you'll be slapped in the face with when you launch the game. It introduces a new waterfront zone, what they call a slice of paradise, European and North American buildings that you can add in 1 or 2 new residential categories. There are also some signature buildings, 6 in total, I believe, 3 for each region. They are actually pretty cool. And finally, vegetation, 4 palm trees, and it's actually 4 distinct palm trees instead of a palm tree in 4 different stages of its life, which is of course part of what you're seeing here inside of this Beachfront DLC. Because when they say it has 60 new buildings, sometimes they say it has 30 and 30. What it really is 10 core buildings for North America, 10 core buildings for the European theme, and then they can evolve, change, if you will, 3 times, right? So it's 10 times 3 plus 10 times 3. Not to get too mathematical with you, but that's how it works. So it's not quite as nice as it might seem. And as you can see, looking at the in-game footage, they've added a little sort of tooltip thing there so you can see, what did I get as part of the San Francisco Bridge Pack? Where are the beachfront properties? Well, here they are. The disappointing thing with this DLC, by far and away for me, is that it's just low density. 10 buildings for each theme, plus some variations of them, and some trees. Is it weird that the trees are the things that I'm the most excited for? Especially, of course, now that we have some tree mods to go with them, you can actually really place these things down. Let's turn to the official patch notes though, to see what they're saying when they introduce the properties. It's paid content, and as I say, 30 buildings, 24 additional variants they have listed here for the North European and North American waterfront zoning, and it is only low resident, as well as those 4 palm trees and 6 residential buildings. And that kind of rounds out basically all they say in the patch notes about this DLC. I have some thoughts on it. I'm going to share them toward the end of the video though. Let's keep it factual for now. And we're going to do that by looking at general fixes and improvements, starting with what you're looking at on screen right now. Land value. Land value, a big issue, of course. What have they changed? Well, service coverage, healthcare, education, police, and telecoms now affects land value. Wow! Reachability of commercial services also, as well as stops and stations of public transport, as well as noise, water, air, and ground pollution. Shorelines also a natural feature that now affect land value. They've added a maximum limit to the land value bonus factor, and they've replaced the building land value info mode with land value source info mode instead, as you've witnessed already. Rent too high warning notifications are now highlighted when land value info view is active. And finally, they've added a tooltip to the cursor which shows the monetary value of the land or building where the building is located when land value info view is active. That one's a bit of a word salad, but the thing to take home here is that land value now takes into account services around it, natural features around it, pollution, and commercial buildings. Wonderful to see some logic employed here. There are some further fixes to discuss as well. The headlining ones included things like they've added an extinguishing sound for firefighting helicopters, automatic random rotation when placing single trees, bushes, and props. They've updated the bus stop, taxi stand, and other toolbar icons, improved visibility of guidelines in the snow, and the default cursor when it's snowing as well. There's also a fairly extensive list of fixes, firstly to crashes to desktop after certain scenarios, very specific scenarios, but hopefully some of you will find some solace in that. And then quite a large list of fixes, like dead tree leaves to be brown, or cargo vehicles very rarely using more than the first 2 loading bays in cargo terminals, as well as a whole load of other things. Water sewage capacity notifications not working, pause not working in the cinematic camera mode, which has seen a few other fixes as well. Of course, I've had the full list on screen, and as always, my sources will be linked below in the description if you'd like to read through the full thing. In case there's one specific gripe that's been bothering you, you might just be able to find it there. Final thing you'll be able to find in the patch notes, notes on performance. Most of them are optimizations, various systems to reduce frame rate or frame time spikes and overall simulation performance much needed, as well as frame rate while placing buildings, some culling scenarios, UI rendering, especially widget system for photo mode and options, and finally they've reduced overhead of rendering curves in the UI. They promised that this patch would deliver more significant improvements to performance. I found, and this could perhaps be due to the fact that I'm placing a whole load of trees with mods. Mods have opened up new potential to stress City Skylines 2 even more, and I found on balance that the performance improvements actually didn't keep up. No tangible difference. However, as I was just sort of slightly saying, they did also, I believe, talk about it having more of an impact on low and mid-range systems. If they are you, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments below. And that brings me to the end of the roundup, the patch, the news, everything that is new in Cities 2, whether it be paid or free. And finally, to round out the video, I'd just like to focus in on my overall thoughts. Firstly, on the editor and modding. I think this is great. Honestly, I do. The fact that the modding couldn't launch with some stability after having an extra 5 months to make it is deeply disappointing to see, and I'm sure I won't be the only person who's disappointed by that, though ultimately it is not surprising. I do give some credit, it's probably quite technical, quite complicated, but again, man, what a sour taste to leave in your mouth if you got up early this morning to play some mods and faced the same problem. Overall though, this is a great step in the right direction for City Skylines 2, right? At a broader level directionally, this is good, as well as performance improvements and the fixes. I don't really have an issue with most of that, and I think most of it is pretty good stuff. The Beachfront pack though, yeah, I don't know, Chief. I don't know. And I have some thoughts on it, and a lot of them might be slightly disagreeable, like the one I've already mentioned, that I think it's actually a good thing that this is released. It's good news for Cities Skylines 2 overall, not just for its progression, but also for the people who bought the Ultimate Edition, and ultimately suffered the same problems with the base game that you and I did, but also paid more for content that was ultimately delayed, and now delivered, and that's good. As somebody who paid, I think it was just slightly over 21 New Zealand dollars for the beach properties and the deluxe radio station. Could have saved $5 if I ditched the radio station. Absolutely an advisable move. But nonetheless, I think it's about $10 US if you just want the beach properties. You don't really get a lot, right? Just low density. Like, where's the beachfront high-rises? These things do exist. Like, they might not really exist that much in New Zealand, but we at least have more than just shacks or kind of American-style wealthy family homes, right? There is a little bit more to it than that. And I feel that this is, while granted only one part of the broader waterfronts expansion, the rest of it releasing in about 6 months from now, I feel that it's quite disappointing. Especially when I start to play through, okay, so $20, $21 NZ. So that's like 1/5 of Baldur's Gate 3. Like 20% of Baldur's Gate. Do I want 5 beachfront property packs or Baldur's Gate 3? I mean, I'll let you do the maths on that one, but for me, the answer is fairly obvious. And so therefore my take is, this is probably not worth it for almost everybody. If you got the Ultimate Edition, great news for you. You've got more stuff inside of Cities 2 that you bought a long time ago. If you didn't, I don't really see a need to upgrade here. Especially from a slight distance, you'll basically barely notice the difference between a beachfront zone and a normal low residential zone like the ones you're looking at here. There really isn't that much more to say about the Beachfront's DLC, or more broadly about today's update to Cities Skylines 2. As I say, not to be a negative Nancy, it's great to see modding in the game. Finally, we'll get some wonderful solutions, new tools and maps and all sorts of stuff natively built in, or at least as close as we can get to that. But the Beachfronts pack is overwhelmingly disappointing to me. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.